And Canadian technology is being used to guard the integrity of the line. Here, engineers from a Calgary-based company called Pure Technologies are laying fiber optic cable into a live pipeline. It will allow them to listen for breaks in the pipes.
Okay, coming up.
The Libyan government hired the firm after a series of failures led to emergency shutdowns. Flawed pipes finding their way here, to a vast pipe graveyard in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, you know, it is quite a sight to see.
Some of them are 4 meters in diameter, big enough to drive a truck through, certainly big enough for a windy chat with project manager Rob Budianto.
We try to make sure that the data that we give to the Libyan Authority is accurate and correct, and you know, if the water stops, then so does the country. So it's very important for them.
So that's the sound that it creates.
Budianto and his team are monitoring a section of the first phase of the pipeline, the oldest. 3 other phases are complete, and a 5th is under construction west of Tripoli. Libya's ambitions don't end with drinking water. Planners here want to irrigate to reduce the country's heavy dependence on food imports. The parched lands around this huge man-made lake near Benghazi are slowly being turned to agricultural use. Juma El Tarhouni helps manage the water.
All the war they are fighting for the food. And if we have the water, why we don't grow?
But not everyone believes the project is sustainable. In its early days, skeptics called it the Great Madman's River, a reference to the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi and its enormous expense, billions of dollars. And the great man-made river comes with a great unknown. Nobody knows just how long the water will last. Tony Allen is a water specialist who's studied the man-made river for decades. He says it certainly won't be enough to green Libya.
There's not enough water now, and certainly for a future doubled population, there's just no chance that it will produce the food that it needs.
But that makes it no less vital than a country battling to keep the desert at bay. And Libyans will make no apologies for drawing what is to them life's blood in a dry, dry land. Margaret Evans, CBC News, in the Libyan desert.
Okay, thank you. So that gives you an overview of what we do in Libya. We have a team of about 6 or 7 engineers from Canada working with the Libyans to help maintain that monitoring system and make sure the data is continuous and accurate, as our project manager said there. So it's a significant challenge. All of these systems are out in the middle of the desert. They're all solar powered. In fact, the computer systems are cooled by the water from the pipeline. So it's a completely sustainable arrangement there. So it's quite impressive. In terms of the challenges, you know, and I'd welcome some feedback from the audience as I'm going through this, because rather than have me talk, it would be great to have a sort of dialogue going here. We've been there for 10 years, as I mentioned. Libya is going through an enormous change. It's looking outward, having looked inward for 30 years or so. It's undergoing massive infrastructure upgrading and significant development of its oil and gas resources. So there's a huge interest from foreign firms in the country. Currently, there are probably 3 or 4 Canadian firms active. Petro-Canada, through the purchase of it's Suncor, through the purchase of a German company, is very active there. Bombardier is active. SNC-Lavalin is involved in this project that we're involved with, and also involved in building a new airport in Benghazi and other government-sponsored projects. Other than that, very little Canadian activity in the country, but there's a huge interest from Turkish, Chinese, European, Italian companies in there. AECOM, which is a huge US-based engineering company, is in there in a big way, helping to manage the infrastructure development. So it's becoming a magnet for foreign investment. And they are facing significant challenges. I would say one of the problems is the laws and regulations are changing rapidly, as they are in the Middle East in general. I think they're trying to adapt to a Western-style way of doing business. This causes uncertainty for foreign firms operating there, and it's very important that you have, I would say, good local knowledge of the legal framework and what's coming up in terms of changes to the law, if you want to be sure you're not at a disadvantage or surprised by what happens. In terms of determining or locating local partners, we've done this primarily through our, we didn't have to go through the local partner arrangement. We have a very unusual arrangement directly with the client, which is the Libyan government, on this particular project because of the strategic nature of what we're doing there. So we've been able to avoid the joint ventures and the other types of arrangements that are often necessary to operate in these areas. Nevertheless, we do encounter bureaucracy. It affects everything from payments, which can be very slow. I would advise anybody going there to make sure you have plenty of working capital, because you're going to be waiting for quite a while to get paid. Having said that, we've had no payment issues in terms of that. We've always got paid. It just takes a long time. But we do know of some of the other foreign firms over there that are having significant issues. They've stopped work on some of the infrastructure projects because of they haven't been getting paid. This is not necessarily because they don't want to pay you. It's just that the way they're operating, they're not quite up to speed yet in terms of processing, contracts and all the other issues surrounding payment. So I think it's very important for people to realize, it's quite a challenge. I would say it's also important to have in-country expatriate management to look after your interests. I think if you look at Libya in particular, they don't have a culture of business as we have in the West, and I think you have to be careful to make sure that you select good local people to be active in your business. But I would suggest you should also take a direct interest and have one of your key people over there to help manage your business. Not only from the point of view of looking after your interests, but it does help when you're there all the time in terms of processing the payments. If you show up every day, asking about when you're going to get paid, eventually you're going to get it. It does speed it up because they don't want to disappoint you too much. It is a process, and one of our senior VPs has moved to Benghazi with his family, and he's been there for the last 3 years. He's got another 2 years to go, and he spends a lot of his time just shepherding paperwork through the system. So, having said that, we have a very good working relationship over there. I think the Libyans really like working with Canadian firms. I think they really appreciate our style, our understated approach to business, and I think it's certainly a very valuable position to take over there.